The sky is falling, the sun is burning, holding to our rain. The ground will open like an ocean and swallow us alive.
Well, hello there and welcome to the second episode of his F1 2019 Alfa Romeo career mode. In the first episode, of course, it was the introduction to the game, taking you around the main hub screen, showing you various parts of what the game can offer if you don't want to do career mode, other things as well. But obviously the F2 scenarios, which I thought we did very well in, to be honest. And then finally getting into F1, signing with the Alfa Romeo team. I said at the end of the episode I'd probably come back at the beginning of FP1, talk about it, and then show footage of FP3 qualifying in one episode, and then an extended race package as a second episode. I thought, well, I was already sort of at the home screen at the beginning of FP1, so it'd be pretty pointless to start the episode there, say hi, welcome back, and then I'll see you for FP3. So I've done the 3 practice sessions off camera, which is something I didn't usually do, because in previous games I used to do like FP1, you know, on camera, so you could see the car for the first time, and I can go through all the various, you know, modes and things on the game and all that. But I decided to do the 3 practice sessions off camera with no real pressure or stress. I could just focus on the car, work on the setup, work on getting consistent and trying to get as quick as I can. I have got quicker through the 3 sessions. We ended up, I think, with 295 resource points out of 325. One of the programs I didn't bother doing. And we missed out and a couple of other little bonus ones as well that we can do off to the side. But the pace and the consistency was already there. I've found a setup that works quite nicely for me. Finally, it was a bit twitchy in FP1. I'll explain more when we go to qualifying in a minute. But in FP3 I went very well. I did a really, really nice lap on the medium tyres, and we ended the session in 14th place. And we were the third quickest on the medium tyres. The quickest was Bottas, who was only 7 tenths ahead of us. So if we can sort of keep that pace up going into qualify, we could be in with a good chance of a good qualifying position. So this episode will be qualifying and the race, and then I'll revert back from the next race onwards to the intro to the episode, FP3 and qualifying in one episode, and then an extended race package for the episode after that as well. But for this one anyway, qualifying and the race will be together. So qualifying's up next. We've got the workstation here with some messages. One from Frederick Vasseur: you'll have to show some patience on the first part of the season as we expect our initial pace to be towards the back of the grid. But don't worry, everyone's working hard and we have a great investment in the team. As long as you do your bit, we should be able to move towards the middle of the pack over the course of the year. Yeah, I definitely want to be a midfield runner by the end of this year, consistent midfield runner as well. Emma, the upcoming session, good luck out there today. Make sure you bring the car back in one piece and ideally ahead of Kimi. The weather forecast, sunny and cloud for both qualifying and the race, so no chance of rain just yet. There's a bit of blurb there about the Melbourne circuit that I know very well as well. So that's obviously our contract there that I sort of went over in the first episode. R&D, we'll be doing some R&D after this race. Not too sure what we'll be doing yet. You can see they're already up to 1,705 resource points, so we can certainly get a few things on the go. Have had a look around. Aero, straight away we're on to major upgrades, so I probably will leave the aero for a little while and just focus on both the powertrain and also the chassis department to try and get it up to speed, and also a little bit of work on the durability to make sure that's all in check so we don't pick up a litany of grid penalties throughout the course of the season. As for vehicle management then, so 28 laps I've completed across all 3 practice sessions, 6% on the ICE, which is quite nice, 5, 5, 4, 6 and 4. As for the gearbox, so we did 23 laps in FP1 and FP2 with 8% wear. We did 5 laps in FP3 with 2% wear. The practice gearbox doesn't bother me. We can order a new gearbox every single weekend if we want to. We just use it in FP1 and FP2. The event gearbox is the big one though. We use it in FP3, qualifying and the race. And as you can see, that as per Article 23.5 of the sporting regulations, I'll shorten it for you. We have to make a gearbox last 6 race weekends before we can change it out without getting a grid penalty. So we'll have to review that after this race if we do finish the race with all the laps that are done, and see what our average wear is going to be and see if we will manage to get to the end. So that's that little screen then done then. So we might as well advance to the qualifying session. A short qualifying session. It's not full. It's not the Q1, Q2, Q3. It's just a standard 18-minute session where everyone is going to absolutely just go through it on the softest tyres.
We're just about ready to kick off today's qualifying here in Melbourne. It's the Australian Grand Prix. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question is going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice. particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
So here we are in the garage. There's already other cars firing up their engines around the end. So this is the screen for the first time, Ben. So yeah, obviously the overview screen there showing the weather forecast for qualifying and the race. Vehicle management tyres, obviously we'll be doing all our running on the soft tyres. No point really going for the medium because we'll probably be towards the back with 1.2 seconds off the pace of the softs. Car setup, Ben, I have tweaked this. We'll drain the fuel out. Aerodynamics, I was running 6.7, but now we're going to go 6.9 because there's a little twitchy in turn 5 and also in the fast left-right chicane at the end of sector 2. So I've gone up to 9, so we've lost a bit of top-end speed. But we're certainly more stable in the medium to high speed cordless transmission. For the diff on and off throttle, 80-80. Suspension, 3 clicks to the right on the cambers and 3 clicks to the left on the toe. Suspension, 6-6-5-5-3-4. Brakes, 85% pressure, 58 on the bias, and the tyres, 1 click to the right for the front tyre pressure, 2 clicks to the left on the rears to try and stop the rear tyres from overheating. So that is the setup. I'll be running in both qualifying and the race. We've got the timing screen here. Very interesting to note as well. Not only am I making my first start from F2, but we've also got Lando Norris. That's obviously come up anyway. We've also got, if we could scroll down there, Lucas Webber and Devon Butler are now obviously in F1 as well. Devon Butler has replaced Kvyat in the Toro Rosso. And Lucas Webber has replaced Kubica in the Williams. We've, in the Alfa Romeo, of course, have replaced Antonio Giovinazzi. So that's our old teammate from F2, Webber, he's in the Williams, and our rival from F2, Butler, he's in the Toro Rosso. So obviously we'll be looking to beat them around us as well. I don't think Webber would be too much of an issue being in that pretty crap box of a Williams. Butler might be a bit of a challenge early on. A few cars going out on track at the moment, so I think we might as well join them. And this will be, not mine, but certainly for you anyway, the first time that I'll be coming out of the pits. We'll have a nice slow outlap as well, where we can talk about a few things on the game, go over the MFD screens as well, have a look at the car. The engine noise you can hear is certainly a lot louder and a lot more throatier when it revs up in the garage. Off the jacks, tyre blankets off. Mechanic waiting to find some space, there it is, and out we come then. So we'll jump on board. This is the camera angle I'll be using for pretty much every race. No one behind us. Limiter off. And out on track we come. We've got a car just coming down the pit straight here. It is Albon, so we'll just let him through. So here we are then. We're out in qualifying. I do like the graphics. So this is the Alfa Romeo event. Very nice car it is indeed. And we'll just go through the various MFD screens and I'll save a bit of fuel as we're going around. So obviously on the first one we've got our fuel map, bias, diff and our ERS deployment modes as well. On the second screen we've obviously got our tyre wear and car model to show various bits of damage that might be on the car. Here we've got the temperatures for the brakes, which are ice cold at the moment. Engine temperature in the middle, 102. And obviously we've got the tyre temperatures for all 4 tyres, surface and carcass as well. So basically inner and outer wall. And then the final screen then, obviously this is our this is our vehicle wear screen, if you like, showing us the percentage wear on all of the units, including the gearbox down the bottom there, 2%. We've also got here, if we want to talk to Jeff at some point. And we can... Yeah, I know you couldn't receive it, don't worry. So obviously a lot of things down there that we can ask during the race, you know, who's ahead of us, who's behind us, we have a forecast, how the tyres are doing, how the car is handling. This is a section of a circuit where I obviously take a lot faster normally before we come into the third DRS zone, where I was struggling in the practice sessions, but I seem to have pretty much nailed it now. So we've managed to find ourselves a little bit of track space then on our outlap. Lap time's already coming in for Verstappen, already on provisional pole. Being just a short qualifying session rather than the standard Q1, Q2, Q3, everyone will be running obviously the quickest tyres. There's no point in running the slower tyres out there. So then we'll come round to complete the final corner, open up the DRS, and this is going to be our first hot lap on F1 2019.
That front wing, it'll need replacing if it takes too much damage.
So that's it done. Lost a bit of speed in the final sector. We clipped the wall coming out of the final corner there and damaged the front wing. And also I noticed as well, if you go back, as I was coming up to the line, we'd run out of ERS. We still had, I think, 30% left in there, but you only get, underneath the ERS bar there at the bottom, you can see ERS number 5, the yellow bar. You got a white bar, or 2 white bars. One with D, one with H. D is deployment. That will fill up the more you use. And H is how much you harvest each lap. And if you obviously use too much in too much of a higher ERS mode per lap, you basically run out for your lap's allowance. So I've got to sort of fiddle the ERS modes a little bit so I can actually achieve a higher speed going down the straights. So, but other than that, it felt like a comfortable lap. Sector 1 and Sector 2 were certainly quite nice. Sector 3 was a little scrappy there towards the end. We're sitting in 8th place at the moment. Not too sure how many people have set lap times, but we're not last because Stroll is behind us in 9th. I've got a Ferrari behind me, so I'll just Charlie Leclerc. So we'll come into the pits now. We'll lose a minute or two having the front wing fixed. But we've certainly got time to do one more run, maybe 2. And we're out of fuel as well. But yeah, feeling comfortable with the car. Yeah, the issues I had in sort of FP1, I sort of started to eke out in FP2, and then FP3 I was very happy with the balance of the car. One thing, of course, that's missing off the car setup screen is the option to change your ballast, which was a big talking point in F1 2018 to try and get that right for each different scenario and each different circuit, and of course all the conditions that are thrown towards you. It's not on the game this year, so it does make my life a bit easier because it was always something I was struggling with. We can skip the repair time there, that's quite cool, so that's exactly what we'll do.
Set us back a little.
So we'll have a look then. So we've got 9 minutes left. We'll change tyres, obviously. We won't change the fuel because, to be honest, I forgot to put it in like lean mix on my in-lap. So it's sort of my fault. But I'll have a look at the timing screen. So we're sitting in 10th place. I'm tempted to not go out again at all. Well, Butler's last, lel. And the reason for that is because it's a 50% race. And because as well the tyre compounds are a lot harder this year, Pirelli have brought like a harder tyre structure. Pretty much every race is a one-stop strategy if you start outside the top 10. If you finish inside the top 10, obviously you have to start on the soft tyres, and that pretty much puts you into a 2-stop strategy. Maybe 1 stop at some circuits, but by and large it'll be pretty much on a 2-stop strategy. So I kind of want to start every race in 11th place, go for the 1-stop strategy, and then try to stick with the likes of guys in 10th, 8th and 9th if I can, and then obviously jump them through the various pit stop sequences and get inside the points. So 10th place, ideally, is the worst place to start, so I don't think I'm going to go out again, and if we end up dropping down to 13th or 14th, then so be it. So we'll let the time run out and see where we are at the end of the session. So we have ended the session in 14th, which is what I said might happen. I'm fine with that. We could have gone out and done another run, and if we'd sort of had a decent-ish lap, we would have definitely improved by 3 or 4 tenths. Obviously, we had no ERS coming across the line, and obviously we had a bit of front wing damage after clipping the wall, so we probably lost 2 to 3 tenths there, which would have put us up, yeah, probably around about 11th or 12th. But I'm fine with 14th. We can go for the one-stop strategy now. So Bottas has taken pole, 3 thousandths ahead of Leclerc. Hamilton, Gasly, Verstappen and Vettel complete the top 6 for the big 3 teams. We've got Ricciardo as home race, Perez, Magnussen and Stroll inside the top 10. Then Hulkenberg, Norris, Grosjean, ourselves in 14th, ahead of Sainz, Devon Butler, George Russell in 17th, Webber in 18th, Albon in 19th and Raikkonen at the back of the grid.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. It's been a great qualifying session for you. Are you going to carry that momentum into the race? You scraped the walls a few times. Were you struggling for grip? Well, thanks anyway.
So then the rivalry breakdown. We're leading it already against Raikkonen by dint of out-qualifying him. And the resource points for the qualifying session as well should be quite nice. hoping for at least around 150. 140, but that's okay. It takes up to 1845. Hopefully, if we have a decent-ish race, we should be over 2,000, and then we can do some nice grades onto the car. Reputation has gone up quite nicely with a few teams throughout the session. Obviously, it's always going to be fairly higher with Alfa Romeo as it's our team, and also with Ferrari and the Haas team because of our affiliation to the Ferrari Driver Academy. The respect level also going up a little bit as well. One of the questions there that you saw in the interview there. The chassis department noticed that. When that pops up saying they noticed that, it's either a praise or a criticism, and it will have an effect on your R&D. So if we go to the chassis department, you can see there the morale is now good because of that question answered, and it upgrade price reduction by 4%, failure chance reduction by 2%. So instead of being 500 for that upgrade, it's now 480. That will last a week or two. Usually what I do in career modes is I usually choose a department to focus on, either powertrain, chassis or aerodynamic, even durability, and pretty much every question I get, no matter what it's about, I always look to favour that particular department if I can, to increase the percentage chance, make things cheaper, make things more reliable once it's being processed in the factory. So you try to do that to make your life a little bit easier. The wear then, so we'll have a look at the gearbox. That's the only thing I care about. It's up to 3% now. We only did, I think, 3 laps in qualifying anyway, so that's not too bad really. 3% after 8 laps. Everything else is pretty much comfortable. So we'll go to the race then. We'll have a look at the intro. We've got one message. It's from Jeff. Good luck today, basically. Yep. So yeah, we'll go and have a look at the intro for the Australian Grand Prix, the grid formation, and then we'll have a look at our race strategy.
New drivers, new cars, it's a new Formula One season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that plays host to round 1 of a 21-race championship that takes us from here in Australia across the globe and the eventual season finale at the Yas Island circuit in Abu Dhabi. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. We have plenty of changes to the sport this year with tweaks to the regulations, a fresh-looking spread of tyre compounds, and of course some changes to the roster of car manufacturers. It's goodbye to Sauber and hello once again to the classic name of Alfa Romeo in Formula One. It's also goodbye to Force India. They've been rebranded as Racing Point. Joining me to take you through all the action of the 2019 Formula One season is Anthony Davidson. And it's great to have you with us.
Thanks, Crofty. Always happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to getting underway. Last year was Mercedes' 5th Constructors' title in a row, although for the first half of the season it was absolutely neck and neck with the Ferraris. Hopefully this year we can see the chasing pack take that final step, as I'd love to see a championship contest all the way up to the final race in Abu Dhabi. Another story to keep an eye on is the performance of Red Bull, who have switched to the Honda power unit this year. What that will mean for both their performance and reliability remains to be seen.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Gasly, Max Verstappen and Vettel, Ricciardo, Perez, Magnussen and Lance Stroll, Hülkenberg, Norris, Romain Grosjean, Lee, Sainz, Butler, George Russell and Lucas Faber, Albon, and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid.
So here we are on the grid. No one has any penalties, which I wouldn't really expect for the first race of the season. Race strategy then. So it's saying softs onto mediums. We could do a 2-stop, which is 2 tenths slower actually, and enables us to push. I'll edit this and go mediums onto softs. Yeah, I think that should be okay. There's it's slightly slower apparently than the 2-stop strategy, but we'll give it a go anyway. On these tyres, fuel, I think I'll start with 2 laps worth of extra fuel. We can't change the car setup obviously, Yeah, so if we find out that the mediums are burning off a bit too quickly, like, you know, it's around about 60% by about lap 13, 14, I'll probably pit in, and then we'll do a double stint on the soft tyres. Obviously, we saved a couple of sets from qualifying, so we have at least 2 sets there that we can use. So we can just adjust that. There's 0.02 of a difference between this and this strategy, so pretty much nothing. So we'll go with the one-stop strategy, and we'll see how that pans out during the race. So then we'll do the formation lap, which is not something that I usually do. I usually do that off camera, but as it's the first race of the season, I don't see any reason why we can't do it. So hold the clutch, build the revs.
We're not seeing any technical issues coming off the practice.
So we've got Grosjean ahead of us in 13th, Sainz behind in 15th. They're both on the soft tyres. I don't know how many people out there are on the soft tyres. Possibly we're the only car, which would be interesting for strategy. Of course, the new tyres with the new beading and the way they're made, very nice and shiny when they're fresh out the box, fresh out the packet. It's all getting very exciting, isn't it, now on the formation lap? So target for this race, I just want to finish. I never set myself a target other than just finishing the first race. We can evaluate our performance after the race, see what we did right and see what we did wrong. Australia is a good track for me. I enjoy it. It's easy to make a mistake. It's easy to crash. And being down in 14th place, I'm sort of in what I like to call the clusterfuck zone. Anything from about P7 down to about P16, 17 is for the first lap. You know, it's all a bit of wheel banging, a bit of contact. It's difficult to find some space and put some early moves on. So it's going to be crucial keeping it clean in the first couple of corners. Certainly all the way down to turn 3. Hopefully we're given a wide berth by everyone. Hopefully if we manage to keep it clean after the first couple of laps, we can just knuckle down, focus on our strategy. Points would be nice. Debut. I don't think I've ever scored points on a debut. In fact, to be honest, I don't think I've ever finished my first race. Like I said, the target for today is to just finish. AI then takes control coming around the final corner. It's a shame that we don't get the option to drive our own car into the pit box. Codemasters could put something on it saying if you overshoot your pit box then you get a penalty. If you undershoot, then obviously it's a penalty onto yourself because you're starting a little bit further back. But for now anyway, it's still AI controlled. So just wait for the final car to take position. It has now. The 5 lights coming on. And round 1 of F1 2019. Let's go. Not the best start in the world. We'll try and control the middle. So we've lost positions, 3 in fact. Very nervous in the first couple of corners. Don't know what the AI are going to do. The AI have been tweaked this year. They're more aggressive. Got to remember as well, we're on the medium tyres. A lot of people on the softs, so they are going to be naturally quicker than us. At the final corner, over the line. Lap 1 completed. Apart from losing 3 positions, kept it clean. And that's now lap 2 completed. So let's knuckle down now.
DRS will re-enable this lap. You can use it when within 1 second of the car ahead.
Settle into a rhythm. Just thinking as well, although the selected strategy for us was the one stop, we were starting, excuse me, we was expected to start on a fresh set of soft tyres. Everyone inside the top 10 of course starting on a used set of soft tyres, so they might have to 2-stop. We'll have to wait and see how this race pans out. We'll know for sure around about lap 8 or 9. If we start seeing the leaders file into the pits, they'll pretty much be on the 2-stop strategy. Oh, something's happened up here. There's an absolute trainer lane of cars. So I don't know if someone's got damage or if they've got an issue. There's something's going on up here. Russell's had a poor exit out of the chicane, and we've got DRS. So yeah, there's a queue of about 8 cars ahead of me. Something's happened. So we've got DRS off of Russell. He's going to be slow and compromised. Oh, I love the AI. It's so aggressive. And what a move around the outside of Russell.
Nice move. Good job.
My first official real overtake. So quick check in the tyres as we complete 6 laps. 28% on the left rear. That's an issue. So it's going to be around about nearly 60% at the end of lap 12. So we might have to go on to the 2-stop strategy here, which is a shame. But we're keeping pace with the guys in the soft tyres, which is to be expected because they're now running 7 laps. Most of them probably about 10 or 11 laps really if they're on their qualifying set. So you might start seeing some pit stops soon. Look at the AI. They battle so hard. I've got to be careful here. They're on the grass. Whoa, they're so slow. I'm already starting to get some rear slip on these tyres, which is a bit of a worry. We do have the option, of course, of going on to the hard tyres, which is something I might look into the possibility of, because the mediums are already starting to struggle here. And I'm probably going to be losing bags of time as well. I pulled out about a 3-second gap to Albon behind, and now he's right with me because these guys are scrapping so hard. But you've got to be so careful. You can't just do a dive bomb anymore. Cars are pitting as well. You can't just dive bomb anymore because the AI will not budge. If they've got the racing line, they will stick to it. So it's Hulkenberg then, the first to blink off of the soft tyres at the end of lap 8. Oh, Devon Butler lucks up there. Sainz had to slam on the brakes and so did we. Nearly creamed into the back of the McLaren. Oh, this is not going to end well. I need these guys to either sort themselves out or pit because I'm losing heaps of time behind them now. Butler is clearly holding us all up here. Good, they're all buggering off. Right, we should be moving up the order a little bit. We might find ourselves inside the top 10.
So far, 6 places up on our target.
11th place. And they're all out on the soft tyres, so the leaders are definitely two-stopping. I think I'm going to look into the possibility of pitting in a lap or two and going on to the hard tyres. Because I don't really want a two-stop here. So we're coming in then, end of lap 11. Tyres just about died. Don't speed, don't speed, don't speed. Nah, not bad.
Kimmy is in for his stop.
Ah, Kimmy's pitted just behind me. Sorry, dude, you're being held up. So we're coming off the mediums, going on to the hard tyres.
Exit now.
Sorry, dude.
Leave the pits. Complete. Go now.
We're going to tumble down the order here. 17th place. So coming across the line, start lap 13. I've got Albon behind me on the soft tyres. If he goes for a move up the inside, I will let him go. Because he's going to be a lot quicker than me, but he definitely has to stop again. A few drivers about 7 or 8 seconds ahead of us still have to stop again. At least once. We don't. So I'm quite happy to just run to a pace, look after the car, the tyres, and see. We will climb up the order as long as we keep it nice and clean. Points, I don't know, but I think if we end up around about 12th or 13th, we think we consider that a good job well done. Oh, Hamilton's retired. Not too sure where or why. Oh, we've spun the car! Wow.
Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay, please.
Oh, it was so disappointing because up to that point I kept it nice and clean on track. Had a great move around the outside of Russell as well. Proud of that one. And yeah, I don't know what happened there at turn 5. I can only assume I took a slightly wider line in, got onto the curbs and just obviously bottomed out the car. And then the back end stepped around, and once it's spinning, I run simulation damage, so all you got to do is kiss the barrier and you could be out of the race. And as soon as I'd spun the car, I knew it was going to be game over. And it's such a disappointing way to end our first race, as I always seem to do, crashing at Australia. But Bottas has won. Vettel in second place with the fastest lap, so he's on 19 points instead of 18. Leclerc in third. Gasly, Perez, Ricciardo, Verstappen, Stroll on the one stop in 8th. Norris and Hulkenberg in 10th. And outside the points, Sainz, Grosjean, Weber from 18th up to 13th. Magnussen from 9th to 14th. He made 3 stops in that race. And Butler, Raikkonen, who were held up in the pits, Albon and George Russell, who was a lap down. Ourselves and Hamilton, the 2 retirements from the race. No point looking at the standings, because that is the standings. But we'll look at the constructor standings anyway, see what's going on. So Ferrari leads, Mercedes in second place, Red Bull, Racing Point, Renault and McLaren, 4 teams yet to score. So yeah, very disappointing way to end our first race.
Bad luck out there today. Let's talk about it. That was a good race for Lucas. Are you pleased to see him doing well? That crash looked pretty serious. Can you walk me through what happened? Well, thanks anyway.
So then the rivalry breakdown between myself and Raikkonen, the little advantage of Joe after qualifying is now completely gone. And yeah, we're now losing that, unfortunately. The resource points for the race as well. This will be down a little bit. Only 69. Wow. Didn't even hit the 2000 mark. Oh, that's a bit of a hit. That's not good to see. Oh, wow. We crash out. We're almost like a rookie again.
Commiserations on that result. It's been a tough weekend.
Not really. It hasn't been a tough weekend. We've got better and better as the session gone on, and I felt comfortable in the race, and we certainly would have made a few positions up in the race with a lot of people doing 2 stops and Magnussen on the 3-stop strategy. It's just a silly little mistake I did.
Driver to be handed by the press. Emails like the one I've just sent you will give you an insight on how your former Formula 2 rivals are handling the press. Be sure to check your emails regularly, as I'll be sure to send you any of the more, let's say, interesting press transcripts that come my way. Looks like one of your rivals is also going to an upcoming historical event. If you choose to take him on, it might help get your name out there a bit.
Okay, so a few things to look at then. Sometimes it's going to be press clippings from other drivers, maybe talking about me or talking about themselves. And we've also got the classic car events that have been ever present, I think, since 2017 at least. And Raikkonen is attending this one. Essentially, I think what it, from what I understand, is if you go to these and you beat Raikkonen and obviously complete the checkpoint challenge or whatever the scenario is as well, then your reputation goes up a little bit, so it can help you later on in your career. I'm not too bothered right now. If I do decide to do it, I'll do it off camera anyway, because I don't really like doing these on camera. It's a bit boring. So we'll read the messages anyway. Debrief from Carl. Here's the debrief notice from the weekend. While some positive work was done as a team, on an individual level your results were disappointing. There was a lot more potential in the car that you were unable to extract. Yeah, sorry I crashed. That's about the invitational events from Emma. And this is an interview transcript then with some of the drivers. Alex thought you'd want to see this. Not a good race for Alex. How do you think they'll be feeling about not finishing? I feel they will take it on the chin and use it as an opportunity to determine exactly what went wrong out there today. They're a fantastic driver, and this kind of thing happens to even the best. And then you gained a lot of positions during the race. Yeah, that's about him. He really looks in control of the car out there. Your team must be thrilled. It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it? Not at all. It's unfortunate. Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's only a little bit about me, nothing too major. And this is one here about Devon Butler. How do you think Alex will react to having not being able to finish today's race? I think it's real unfortunate for my old sparring buddy, but maybe that's just the way things go. Formula 1 is a huge step up from the simpler days of F2 and requires you to be on your A game constantly in order to succeed. It pains me to say it, but maybe my old rival just doesn't cut the mustard. Wow, fuck you. Okay, so we'll move on then. Our value is a lot higher than our contract value, so that's good. We want it to keep it that high if we can. The team goal, finish 13th or better. Well, we've got Bahrain next. There's a possibility there. Bahrain is one of my favourite circuits, always has been. So we might put in a good performance there. Considering we were pretty competitive in Australia, which isn't my favourite track, I've got good hopes that Bahrain, if we can nail a decent setup there, that we can be even more competitive than we were in Australia. So research and development, this is the important one. We've nearly got 2,000. The aerodynamic department and the chassis department now have a good rating. The first thing we'll do though is get this done. This is 10% increase durability on all the components, including the gearbox. I always do this after the first race, and then that we'll basically leave this. We'll come back after maybe 2 or 3 races once the weekends are done, have a look to see what are our weakest components in terms of wear, and then we'll look to upgrade them first. I'm not too bothered about taking grid penalties during the course of the season. So we've got 1,414. I'm going to leave the major upgrade. I'm going to leave this until we can change our contract perks to having the major upgrades time reduced by a week, because I'm not spending that amount of money and then having to wait 3 weeks for it to potentially fail. So we'll look at the powertrain then. We'll get this on the go. This is a minor upgrade, so if it does pass, it will be here next week. Pistons for the engine power. Redesigned pistons result in less engine friction and more finely tuned combustion, thereby increasing power. Yep, okay, that sounds lovely. So we put it on the car and it will get us ahead of Ferrari and Haas, because we will run the same engine spec. So unless they do a bit of powertrain work, we'll be ahead of them. We'll come over to the chassis department where we need a bit of work as well. And we'll get the weight reduction done for the central under tray. So optimisations to the design of the central under tray result in a weight advantage at no compromise to the complex underfloor aerodynamics. There's some big words in there, but yes, again, 480 for that. So hopefully we'll have that on the car in Bahrain as well. And that might get us ahead of McLaren and Toro Rosso. We'll have to wait and see, but a couple of little upgrades there on the car. So yeah, durability will definitely come in. We'll have to wait to see if these two pass, and I'll leave aero department until probably the mid part of the season. So that's the R&D in progress and the progress history. Of course, you can see the varying performance levels. We're second last. Little red line is us, just above Williams. Vehicle management then, so we're up to 45 laps now. Overall wear across the board is 8%, 10% on the ICE, which is the highest, but turbocharger and the MGUH is on 9. The gearbox is the important one though. We only got halfway through the race, and it's only at 8%, so that's good. That's good. We've obviously got some nice durability on these parts, and with the extra 10% that we'll get from the gearbox and everything else as well, that'll help a little bit. And yeah, that's it then. There's nothing else really to look at there. We've just got the next weekend to go. So yeah, disappointing overall. I worked hard on the setup and we got quicker and more consistent as the practice sessions and qualifying went on. Happy to start outside the top 10, probably a little bit higher ideally, but 14th was fine. We kept it clean at the start, lost a couple of positions, but a nice move around the outside of Russell. I really do like how aggressive the AI are in this game, especially when they're defending. They do defend the inside, they do move about, they do force you wide, they do try to outbrake you, and yeah, completing the move around the outside at turn 3 is not easy in real life, let alone in a game. So yeah, very happy to put that move off. And then yeah, I thought making the decision to go into the hard tyres was the right decision. It was quite clear that a majority of the field were 2 stopping, and all we had to do was keep it clean and consistent, and we would have made a few more extra positions. But a mistake at turn 5 put us in the wall, and it's game over from that point. But we've got some R&D work going on the car, and one of my favourite events is coming up next as well. So thank you very much for watching this episode, and I'll see you guys for the next one very soon.